Friends, so here we are. I'm back, and I wanted to start this video by saying that in the last video, I got so excited by talking about the inner dimension of our being that I completely lost track of the point that I was trying to make in it, and that will happen. Because I'm not doing this on a script. Um, I have an idea of where I want to start, and then I sort of just go off on a tangent. So, if you're still here, thank you for bearing with me, um, and I hope this is helpful to at least one of you out there. So, in the last video, I really tried to point toward my own sense of how important it is to think about um, the inner realms of our human being. Um, I talked about all these words that you have the word in them um, as a way to point toward our awareness that we have um, that there is something animating. We have a life force that's animating our physical bodies, our physical lives. That we're not just this meat sack of water and earth and minerals. Um, but that there clearly is some intelligence that is beating our hearts and running the blood through our veins. Uh, we have not done that ourselves. Something is doing it through us, and I think that's a really important thing to remember. And now, without going down that tangent yet again in this video, um, I want to say that the whole point of drawing attention to that is because in that uh, I found a pathway that I could um, that I could put myself in that has been greatly helpful uh, in steering my own healing from the time that I was diagnosed with brain cancer in 2017 to sitting here being completely cancer free today. And so I want to say that from the start because um, really the whole point of doing this exercise of this video series was to cast out a line of hope to anyone who is going through anything similar and feels that their life is being um, driven by what they're hearing through the dictates of our popular culture or by our current understanding of science and all of that. And so I really just want to be a living example that, as I said last time, um, you can you can believe your diagnosis, but you can also choose not to believe your prognosis. And I remember that when I came out of the hospital in 2017 after my surgery, on the way out, I had a very quick interaction with a man who was waiting for his wife to come out of to be released, and he was telling me that she had just come through her second experience of end of life cancer of some form for the second time in about 20 years. And that, again, here she was. She had a successful surgery and she was going home. So I think that was, when I think about it now, um, a pivotal moment where I thought, there was something that broke through. There was a moment of hope that broke through um, as I left the hospital. And then when I came home and decided that I was going to do everything that I could to um, heal as much as I could participate in my own healing, um, I began to remember that I already had a connection to devices that would allow me to participate in my healing, um, which I spoke about in previous videos. Um, that all connected back to my initial excitement and enchantment with the fact that we exist at all, and there is something that we are clearly a part of that is bigger than any of us individually, but that also is a connecting force to us all um, universally. And so, okay, see, I just caught myself. I was about to go down another tangent, but I'm aware now that I want to return to tapping in to that stream, that current of inner information, of inner animation that runs through us. And so I knew that it was possible to participate in our own biological unfolding, our own biological movement, our own biological healing. I already had a deep knowing that our thoughts affected our biology. And so I returned to my reading, and I found, excuse me, I found research by a medical doctor named Bernie Siegel, whose book called Love, Medicine, and Miracles. I'm going to hold it up and see if you can see it. Bernie Siegel, Lessons Learned About Self-Healing from a Surgeon's Experience with Exceptional Patients. He also has a book called Peace, Love, and Healing. And what I want to talk about very quickly from his book is that he speaks to the power of visualization. And in his clinical work, helping patients to heal all kinds of illnesses, he addresses the power of being able to create an image in one's mind of helping their bodies to heal. And so it might be something like creating a story in your mind of having beautiful, healthy, vibrant cells bring healing light to cells that are damaged, and letting that light seep into those cells and infuse them with light, and watch those cells then becoming whole and healthy. I'm just using that as an example off the sort of off the cuff. But ultimately, one of the points that he makes is that the story that you create, that one creates in their mind's eye, has to make sense to them. It has to resonate with them. And so other people, for example, might choose when battling an illness to think about killer cells showing up with almost like in battle to take out the cells that are not functioning well or that are harming the body. And different images work for different people. But the point is that if we can clearly create an image in our mind and stay with that image so that we can actually feel the effect happening on the inside in our minds, our actual bodies can't distinguish between what is happening in our mind's eye and what is actually happening on the physical plane of our being. And that's one example of how that works. For me, in my own healing journey, it didn't feel right to connect with images of war or fighting. What really resonated with me was connecting with the foundation of love. And so what I would do in my morning meditations, I would begin to incorporate visualization practices where I would see the cancer cells in my brain healing. I would see them being filled with divine light and being infused with light and healing. Even though I had had the surgery and the cancer was removed, I wanted to bring as much loving attention and care to the cells in my brain so that they knew that they were being held and cared for and loved. And so I would use this visualization And without getting into too much detail about it, what I would also do is after the surgery, when I was going through radiation treatment, I would be lying on the table and I would imagine that the radiation being directed to the site where the cancer had been, that the light from the radiation machine was actually white, glowing, healing love. And I would see it entering into my head and into the cells and bringing love and repair and uh, and just filling me with glowing light and letting my body absorb all of that light and reinforce it so that as I was lying there on the table, I would see myself glowing with light. Okay, so that's just one page out of my own book, um, and what I want to reflect on right now is before I talk about the power of visualization more in terms of our own abilities to self-create, is something fascinating that I learned not so long ago about how caterpillars become butterflies. And you'll see behind me, there are three butterflies, which I think continue to be uh, extraordinary reminders of what's possible in this physical existence. And so some of you may already be aware of this. I had no idea. But in my mind, when a caterpillar morphed into a butterfly, it spun its cocoon, um, and then it stayed in there and it began to sprout wings. And when it was time, it would come out of its cocoon and fly away. But in fact, what happens is um, the caterpillar wraps itself up in its web, in its cocoon, and it begins to dissolve. The whole caterpillar starts to dissolve and becomes this goo, just this stuff, this gelatin-like liquidy stuff, so that there's actually nothing left of the original caterpillar, except that during the whole time the caterpillar was a caterpillar, they had within them what scientists are now calling imaginal cells, which I already think is amazing that science is referring to a cell as an imaginal cell. But these are cells that existed within the caterpillar that held the potential for them to become butterflies. The caterpillar was probably never, I'm just assuming here, was never aware of their butterfly-like potential, but it always existed within them, even as caterpillars. And so they dissolve into this goo, and then one of those imaginal cells activates. I imagine it sort of being like it remembers, oh, I can do this. And so that cell bursts into existence, and then more do. And as more imaginal cells begin to come online, as it were, they join. And soon enough, they begin to um, give life to a whole new creature that was always present within the caterpillar to begin with. And um, I think that it's a great image to keep in mind, because as human beings move through life, there is a part of us that knows that we are more. And I think we try to point toward that moreness through um, through our institutions of religion and through our forays into philosophy and anything we try to do, or anything that allows us to tap into that in our own lives. But there's a deep knowing that is there, that human beings have known about since the beginning of time. And tapping into that is our way of accessing our own imaginal cells so that we can harness through our own mind, our imagination, and begin to create ourselves again from the inside out. So I want to just give a great big thank you and shout out to Dr. Bernie Siegel, who will probably never see any of these videos. But I want to thank him for all of his work and all of his team's work for creating books that provide living examples of people who have healed from various illnesses using the techniques of visualization. There's power there, people. There's power there for us to engage with. And one more small example uh, of the potential in everything is the famous example of the oak becoming the oak tree, the acorn becoming the oak tree. I think that's it. An acorn falls off a tree. It's lying on the ground. I think most of us know what an acorn looks like. But within that acorn is the potential to become an oak tree. When we look at it on its surface level, it's just this little acorn. But when it falls off the tree and does its thing, it holds within it all of the imaginal cells, to extrapolate from the butterfly, to become something entirely new. That doesn't give up what it was before, but transcends it and becomes something more. And so, again, with the goal being of this video series to inspire people, I just want to call awareness to how valuable it is to recognize our potential for tapping into our own imaginal cells as tools to imagine ourselves in a way that is more than we think we are, and to affect ultimately the unfolding of our physical biology. I will pause here now. I'm going to keep this one a little bit shorter, and when I come back, I might continue on this in this vein just a little bit more, to talk about two other heroes of mine who have done fascinating work in this field, Dr. Joe Dispenza and Greg Braden. And I might also talk about Masaru Emoto, who has done all kinds of fascinating research with how our thoughts can affect the configuration of water cells. So I'll leave that as a teaser. Thank you for being here again. Blessings to all, and be well. See you next time.